that was satisfying to say, right? Yeah. So we can spend a little bit of time talking about both films. I have some questions, but I'm thinking the audience has lots of things to say as well. So Sophia, I'm recalling that The Other Side was that a senior thesis project that Josh did, or was it post-NYU? I'm trying to remember.
Not, I mean, sort of. So the director, Josh, and myself are both from NYU, as well as other members of the crew, and we actually did this summer after freshman year. I actually just graduated this May, and Josh is currently on track to graduate in December. And the way it occurred, first of all, it's a shame he's not here, many apologies, he's actually in Ethiopia currently, visiting the real Avo, and helping him start a career in film as well over there. But the way it began was that Josh, back in 2018, traveled to Ethiopia with his church on a missions trip to lend a hand to the local orphanages of Ethiopia, and from there he met one of the few kids that actually spoke English was Avo, and they started a very strong friendship and they kept in touch. And when he came back to New York to start NYU, we met very first week, and he told me all about his trip and the current orphan crisis in Ethiopia, where, as you read up on the screen, 5 million children are currently orphaned. And since then, I told him, I was like, well, he was going to go back, he wanted to make a film, so we sat down and decided he wrote it, and then I was like, okay, let's do it, and I produced it. So
what kind of, if any, production issues did you encounter in Ethiopia?
Oh, many. The biggest challenge was obviously producing from the States, because we were producing it right during our spring semester at NYU. We received a lot of support from our professors, our classmates, alumni, and even the local members of Josh's church. They connected us with an Ethiopian producer who was able to connect us with local cast and crew. Ethan Harisi, I'm not sure if people recognize him, the main actor. He's from Uridigrane's Emmy-winning Netflix series, When They See Us, about Central Park 5. And that was also through NYU, but all of this, we were working a lot of the production in New York. And then, I don't know when you can relate, I'm a very control freak. I like my spreadsheets. I had 5 million schedules, and then when we got there, it kind of went all out the window because we traveled right during the rainy season. So there was no way of predicting when it was going to rain. It was certainly going to rain at some point in the day, and it rained hard. So if it didn't rain in the morning or in the afternoon, if it rained in the morning, it likely wouldn't rain in the afternoon. So that was one of the main things. The weather was really dictating our schedule. So one of the biggest things was learning how to be adaptable and flexible to everything. But other than that, we've got many minor problems here and there. The fight between Avo and Kia was originally not supposed to be a one take. We had all these shots prepared, but as we were hitting record, a mosque next door started a 2-hour service. So we're okay, we're gonna have to find a way to cut around this, and from there came, the one take. All these stories are, very condensed, but along the way, the biggest thing we took away from it was just how to flex and adaptable and just enjoy the journey. We met some incredible people that really made this film possible, and we can't be more grateful. For the record, by the way, this is our first in-person festival.
Oh.
So we're very happy to be here, very excited.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me.
Sure, you're welcome. So what was the length of the shoot in Ethiopia? How long were you in the country to shoot the film?
I want to say 12 days.
12 days. It sounds like sort of a very fascinating adventure, and in fact that you were able to complete it is really terrific. And just repeat one more time, you just said this, but were the actors, you auditioned people there, or you had somebody in mind when you got there to play the two brothers?
Well, Ethan, who plays Avo, through a series of connections, we hadn't interviewed him, auditioned him because we figured, He's a very talented person already. We knew his work. We're familiar with When They See Us, right, when we were fundraising, the series that come out. But Kia was actually a great challenge in casting him. The actor's name is Adonai. He's currently now living in San Francisco, but originally he was born and raised in Ethiopia. And with the help of our Ethiopian producer, Bennett, we were able to audition many, many kids there. And he was actually the last person that we ended up auditioning.
Mm-hmm.
All this was through, emails and emails and tapes.
Yeah.
Wayna, who plays Bennett, is also someone who knew. She's a recording artist, a very known recording artist who previously toured with Stevie Wonder. So with her, we just knew her from Bennett as well. But all the other kids are just local children, non-professional actors, and that's kudos to Josh.
The question is typically asked when a movie has a lot of children in it.
Yeah.
What is that like to sort of organize the herding of cats in this way? I mean, how difficult? Because there are a lot of very big, sort of scenes where they burst out, and several of the scenes because the two of them together. But what was it like to sort of manage all the children?
It was difficult, especially because most of them didn't speak English. And I was also, other than producing, I was the assistant director, so I was in charge of wrangling everyone together. But it was what made it fun, I mean, it was just like the challenge was trying to entertain them and getting together and be like, okay, do this, do that. They were obsessed with my name for some reason. They love saying my name. But other than that, I mean, I think everyone's very excited to be part of the story, and just bring it to life. The orphanages where we shot were real orphanages. One of them was Abel's orphanage as well, where he grew up. So we just had a very big community back, supporting the project from the start. And yeah, it was challenging, especially language barriers that made it hard. But through Josh's church, through a local organization, Orphan Care Ethiopia, an NGO there that works with these orphanages, and Bennett, as well as the orphanage caretakers, we made a group effort to really put everyone into the job.
Yeah. Well, we're going to pick up on one thing you said. Maybe I missed this. This was an actual orphanage where it was shot, and so how did you gain trust there to be able to go ahead and shoot a film? It's somewhat disruptive of the natural order of things.
Yeah, I mean, the first step was getting a permit, and the NGO Orphan Care Ethiopia that had previously gone to Ethiopia with Josh's church had a very strong relationship with the owners and with the caretakers. I think that was the first step, really. But the biggest challenge was really getting their trust, because at the end of the day, they're very worried about the safety of their children, how they're being portrayed, how none of them are on camera for legal reasons, for privacy, whatever. But it was about really spending time with them in between takes, during lunch. Before we started shooting, we made it a point to really, sit down, get to know the children, we catch caretakers, and we're very fortunate to end shooting early and volunteer at the orphanages and dedicate our time to helping.
Well, I want to thank you for shining light on this issue.
Of course.
It really is. It's a very well done film, and most deserving of Best Narrative Short. Thank you for bringing it to us.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Joel, just a couple things. First of all, what is the arc of the film when you started and now it's 2020? Are we talking 11 years or 12 or 13?
It started in 2011, and so I wrapped the film in 2020. So, but I'd say even now it's it's a work in progress. It's finished, but there's stuff that's happened since the film, and I can fill you in on all that. But you're picking up on something. Initially, the film was supposed to be something completely different. It was supposed to be really about the school.
Yes.
And the initial story was that the school was going to come to America. They were going to come to New York City, and that was going to be the arc. And the tour got canceled that they were supposed to come. And all of a sudden, I had like a year's worth of footage about the school, and I wasn't sure what I was up to. But as mentioned in the film, I kept on hearing about these two guys. So hey, they're in Montreal, you should go see them. Once the first story became a non-story, I pretty much went with Plan B, and I think Plan B ended up being a lot cooler.
I think Plan B was very good. I just think it is so amazing that these two charismatic young men, became the central figures in a great story, and there's some happy endings here. And starting fairly humble roots, large families, to be able to emerge and do what they did. And they're great on screen, they're fantastic to sort of follow. I mean, what was the joy factor in doing all of this? Over time, what was it like?
It was all joy. I mean, other than the blood, sweat, and tears, all literal, I bled during a motorcycle accident, minor, but I was off to try to shoot him at an ancient temple at sunset and hit the wrong brake and took a tumble. So yeah, I have a permanent, what they call a Cambodian tattoo, a few stitches right here. So that was the blood part, the sweat, because it's a tropical country, and I think I was sweating the whole time. And the tears, because there's been a lot of ups and downs of this, but yeah. But it was all joy, just to be able to, hang out with those two guys for as long as they did, to be able to get backstage and see Cirque du Soleil performers training, and to learn about social circus, and to have that kind of, that was my motivation, is to try to spread the word about social circus, because I had never heard of it before, and the moment I heard about it, it was like, whoa, I gotta spend some time with this and try to get the word out and do whatever I can, and that was a motivating factor. So yeah, I wanted to spread the word about social circus. I wanted to have some fun and have an adventure or two, or more than two. It was definitely a total adventure, traveling all over the place, 4 countries, 3 languages, 2 of which I didn't understand. So that was, also part of it.
Well, over the course of 9 years, the documentary shows how immersive you can get into cultures, and also the level of your observational skills. I don't know if you thought that they improved, but by the end of the film, you were getting everything you needed. And also for a filmmaker, that's got to be delightful. You're not trying to tease stuff out. It's just happening for you.
Well, I was lucky because they are both incredible performers, so they knew kind of how to work it, and I think they did a great job with that. But yeah, I also gave Dean a GoPro, so that's how I got some of those really amazing shots of him. He knew what to do, thinking of all types of weird camera angles and interesting things that I wouldn't have even thought of. But I ended up with the footage, that he gave to me, and it's been an adventure. This also is my first in-person cinema screening, so we're happy to have this. Thanks so much for this festival. You all have been tremendous. It's just so wonderful. I love my experience here in Middlebury. It's been so charming, the perfect Vermont experience. I've loved the films and the hospitality. It's been touching, and when I say it's still a work in progress, I mean it's just like having these kinds of experiences. This is all part of the journey too.
Yeah. Well, it's very gracious of you to say that. I found this film, and this is the second time I watched it, I just found it to be elevating. Sometimes a film, the story tells itself so clearly, but to have your involvement in it, it made it even more personal. It really is this great human story, and what do you think is next for these guys? Are you going to pick up the story anymore, or are you just kind of leaving it where it ended?
I mean, I think I'm going to leave it there, just a quick thing. I had never intended to be the narrator, but the problem is that fitting the story together, I had to kind of be the glue to weave things together to make sensible out of it, and this was my editor's choice. I made some short films and always without a narrator. That was kind of my style, but then here I kind of went for it. And I did have enough shots with me in it that it kind of worked, but so I think I'll leave it here in terms of the film. Maybe I'll not leaving on that COVID note because, let's hope that we can all move on and so forth, although, yeah, we don't know what's happening exactly. But a couple of updates. Sopa is currently, he's been in Cambodia through the pandemic because, there's no work, unfortunately, that he could get. Dina managed to stick it out in the States, Cirque Du Soleil ceased all operations, but he worked it out, hustled here and there, did what he had to do to make it work. Unfortunately, and this is very sad, he just recently injured his Achilles tendon, so that's gonna take a while for him to heal. He was actually, he had been asked to go back to Cirque Du Soleil, and now it's gonna be on hold for a little bit. So, but I encourage everybody here, if you fell in love with Dina like I did, and follow him on Instagram if you do that kind of thing. He's like got thousands of followers, and he does all kinds of cool stuff. If you did end up wanting to see how things play out with him. Yeah, and Sopa, he's keeping a good spirit, but it's a little tough for him staying stuck in Cambodia. As he mentioned in the film, there's no work for him there, and he, both these guys, they thrive on being applauded and having an audience, and that's also their livelihood. So, yeah, but I do have faith in both of them. They never gave up. That song at the end, I put that in there for a reason. They persevered through so much. I believe in them both. I think they're both gonna be up on stage, and I'm really just thrilled to be able to put them in a movie where they can still be applauded, even at a time where they're both, unable to actually perform. So, one cool thing is my film was selected as the opening film for the Cambodian Town Film Festival in Long Beach, California, which is like the biggest Cambodian community in the US. So that's happening next month. It was picked as the opening film. So Dina, he's gonna come down. Yeah, congratulations. Dina is coming for the Q&A, and hopefully he'll get a GoFundMe set up in time for that because he doesn't even have insurance and it's kind of a mess. But like I said, I have faith in that guy. He really, he will find a way, and he's got that spirit, so.
I suspect there are questions and comments from the audience, so why don't we get a mic that we can take up there? Yes, Kate, right here, up in the. Thank you all so much for coming too. I'm so thrilled that you're here.
Well, both of these films were just tremendous and amazing, and both went to these very remote areas of the world. And I'm actually curious about what kind of camera equipment you used and how actually you did those, did the shoots when you're in places that have no electricity or it's sporadic. And I'm also thinking of potentially doing something in a remote area, so it's a little bit of a personal question as well.
Yeah, it was, for me, I went, most of my shoots were just myself, or I hired someone to do me a favor and come along, but most of the time it was myself. So I went super light, although I did manage to learn how to carry like 4 bags while running through the border or whatever I was doing, trying to catch a bus or something. But yeah, I went light, I just used DSLRs, and a few lenses and a LED light or two, and a separate Zoom recorder with an audio recorder, digital audio recorder, and just did the best I could. And also I bring like an extra GoPro or set an iPhone or whatever I could do. I was on a very, very minimal budget. I will say one of my hard drives, you mentioned the lecturers being in these places, one of my hard drives, there was a surge and it got fried. So there's some footage that I will never, I never had, but I did end up having 200 hours of footage, so I don't think there was really too much of a shortage.
Okay, was your question also directed to Sofia too?
Yeah, but also the camera itself,
What kind of cameras? Even for the DSLR, what brand?
I went with just the Canon 5D Mark II, Mark III, and GoPro and iPhone.
We went a little fancier, not gonna lie. We fundraised through like Kickstarter and some private investors, and we were able to get a Blackmagic Ultimate Pro that we brought from the States, which was again part of the whole challenges of when we brought into the visa for the camera, not a visa, a permit and everything, and also of course we're shooting on the street. As for lighting, we had very limited setups, primarily because there wasn't a lot of electricity in the orphanages. I think back one time we had to get a generator. But other than that, we like a lot of natural light, and that really goes to our cinematographer, who is absolutely phenomenal. He's also at NYU, graduating in December.
Who else has a question? Where else are we going here in the audience?
Who else has a question? Right here, right down here, let's go here, we'll go back and see.
We saw the Cirque Du Cambodia in Cambodia, and you said at the end that they're no longer going. After COVID, do you think they'll be able to restart?
Yeah, I'd like to say that it will happen again, but one thing is that I've learned is that, or really learned, unfortunately, is that we think the COVID situation is bad here, but they're only, I think, starting to get the vaccine in Cambodia now. And a very, very sad thing I'll mention, I wish I didn't have to mention, but andJoel in the beginning, he was one of the co-founders of the school, runs the art program. Just a couple weeks ago, died of COVID. So again, horrible, horrible thing, but I am super grateful that I was able to include him in my film and keep his spirit alive, because he really was a special person. And that'll be a tough loss for the school. They're already reeling. But they, do have a lot of people that love them and believe in them, and it's great. It's super cool that you checked it out. I think they have a lot of people around the world that really want them to continue, and now I feel like my film has even more sort of a purpose to let people know about what they're all about, and to keep it on their radar or something like that. And I think it's too good of a place, too wonderful a place to not exist. So, and I think a lot of other people think that too. So let's just all hope we can get past this horrible pandemic thing, and if we can get enough vaccines to enough people, and that hopefully we can get back to some semblance of normalcy, where a school like this can continue to do the great good that it does.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Who else? Question? Up here? Someone raised their hand back in here? Who else? Over here.
Joel, how did you, wow, that's not. So I heard at the beginning like you were a reporter in Cambodia, and now you flash like filmmaker, so how does that happen?
Yeah, I went to journalism school, and I learned filmmaking, documentary stuff, and print reporting. And I got my job actually in Thailand, which is right next door to Cambodia, in 2005. Now, 2005, I know this was a panel I missed at your earlier part, but 2005 there were something called newspapers, and they don't really exist so much anymore. So I had to kind of shift from what I was doing, because it wasn't really too many opportunities anymore. And I did, video was more of a niche. Now, of course, everybody has a video on their phone, and it's so much easier to do it. But I kind of made that shift, and then came across this story, and I had never done a feature, and it just hit me that this was the thing I need to do. I need to follow the circus, run away and join the circus, or at least film it.
Yes, right down here.
I don't need a microphone. I'm from New York. This is for Joel. To me, music plays a pivotal role in most films, and I'm a huge Fish fan. I would love to know what the process is for you to get approval from a band to use their music in your film. And great choice, by the way, using Fish.
I agree with that choice. I really liked it.
Well, I think it is. I think there's some kismet there that, the first place that my film gets seen on the big screen is in Vermont. Got to bring the Fish music back to where it all started. I am a huge Fish fan with a PH. And, this is, I don't know if I'll ever make another film again. I want to make another film again, but, this is potentially my one shot, and I wanted to put it all in there. I wanted to put everything from my, my heart, my passion into this thing. And you know, if you've ever been to a fish show, it's something like a circus in musical form. And the song really fit, you know, the circus is the place for me, if you notice that. And the circus of light, where dreams can take flight. I mean, it was perfect. It's like, couldn't be more perfect for this film. So I wanted to include that. And once I had one song, I figured I'd try to get a couple others. And I wasn't allowed to use the Cirque du Soleil music when the Cirque du Soleil scenes were coming on, so I wanted something else with some cheering in the background and something, you know, so I included the fish. The process was, I reached out to Fish, and luckily they were really into it. They thought it was cool, they liked it. Beth Montori-Rolls, who I invited here, but she couldn't make it today, she said she was gonna try it, and she couldn't, unfortunately. She's with Fish's management up in Burlington, and she just kind of dug the project, and I was persistent, I kept after it, I was upfront about my usage as I could be. You know, they asked me to trim it down a little bit, I trimmed it down a little bit, but that was kind of the process. I wanted to, like I said, just include it all, everything, and you know, I feel like it works. And then a lot of the other music is actually from the school, from FAR. They have a music program, so a lot of the Cambodian-ish kind of sounding music. There's a lot of this hybrid even. Yeah, it's from them. And then klezmer stuff I just threw in to kind of be weird or something.
I think we have time for one more question. Who would like to ask it? Okay, Chuck, down front.
Thank you, for Sofia. Was the screenplay, was the script that tight? I mean, it seems like it was, you guys did an excellent job of editing and bringing the story through and very crisp. I guess so, how much editing went on with the script and then with the film itself?
Quite a lot, actually. We started, the writer, Josh, wrote the script back in February of 2019, and since then we really worked, like it was originally 26 pages, and from there we like worked it down with the help of our NYU professors and a lot of mentors from the community. And when the short was originally finished, the first cut was also around 26 to 28 minutes, so we had to really bring it down because it was just, there's a lot that is happening with this story. There's a lot that's really compact, and even like we say, it's really bursting at the seams. The story is not even capturing its entirety in just 17 minutes, which is why actually currently Josh is working on the feature adaptation of the short. Part of his trip in Ethiopia not only is to meet again with Abel and reunite, but also to do some research and location scouting and continue his work there to make the feature as authentic and real and true to the story as possible.
Can you give us a hint as to whether the feature will take us into the future or will take us into the past?
It's actually, it's a little bit more like an expansion of the present. It just really delves more into the culture behind what really like propagates street children and like the culture and the stigma against orphans, which is really a cultural thing back in Ethiopia. It's more about, you know, the lead up to Abel's graduation, but we explore more his relationship with his brother, and more of, you know, what really happens to these children when they have no place to turn after after they graduate the orphanages. It's not necessarily, you know, what we always say, it's not about, you know, creating this fantasy world or romanticizing even, you know, their struggles in Ethiopia. We really just want to highlight that, you know, what they really need is professional development, things of, you know, education into how they can go into society and start a life of their own. So Abel, for instance, really loves film. I think Josh was a really big inspiration for him. So Josh is now helping him. He's training him, you know, how to use a camera, DSLR, and take pictures and do location scouts and be a part of our production, or the production in Ethiopia in the future.
Well, you promise us that when it's done, you'll give us a chance to screen it here.
Absolutely, we'd love to, yeah.
Thank you very much. We have a round of applause for these two.